Hey y'all. So a lot of y'all are having trouble with Commonlit, and I know that not being in class makes it really difficult to ask questions. I need to remind you that anytime you don't understand a question, all you have to do is send me a message, and I'll break it down for you. I'll explain it to you. I'll look it up with you and talk you through what you need to write for it. So if you'll just take the time to ask me a question, then I am happy to answer it. I wanted to take a couple minutes for those of you that haven't done this assignment yet. Maybe this will help you. But when you're looking at the assessment questions, I'm going to click on it and get there. Okay, it says, Part A, which of the following best identifies the central theme of the myth? Number one, you have to read the whole thing, not just part of it, because when it says a central theme of this myth, it means that like what is talked about the most throughout the whole thing. Some of these things might be talked about in a certain part of it, but which of these is talked about throughout the whole thing? Now, when you answer part A, if you get it right, then great. And if you don't, then what happens is on part B, it won't score part B for you if you got part A wrong. I've told you this before in a different Commonlit, but in case you didn't see that one, if you don't pick the right central idea for this myth, for this article, then what happens is when you go over here and you pick which two phrases support part A, it won't score it. So there have been a couple of you that got a 0 on the last Commonlit, and it wasn't because you didn't do it. It's because you got the answers wrong, or you got part A's wrong, like 1 and 3. You got them wrong, so it didn't score anything. So which two phrases from the text support the answer to part A? If you go right here on the blue, it will tell you, it will like highlight it for you literally, and you can read it and say, does that sound like it goes along with the central theme or the central idea that I chose? And then you go to this one and you say, okay, well, now that one's talking about this part right here. Do I feel like this really speaks to what the whole message of the myth is? So when it says central idea, it's like when whoever wrote this myth or came up with this myth was creating it, what message do they want their readers or their audience to take away from it? What do they want to learn? It's kind of like a parable or a fable. So that's basically what a myth is. So when they wrote it, what did they want you to learn? And that's kind of like what the whole topic, what the whole myth would be about, what this whole story would be about. Okay, so you find it that way. You click on the blue, it'll take you to the paragraph, and then you read that paragraph. Does that whole paragraph talk about whatever you chose for the central idea? And then for the third one, it says, how does the way Prometheus describes juniper differ from the way the narrator describes juniper? Well, what do you have to do first? You have to go find where Prometheus describes juniper. So you have to look and see where it talks about Prometheus. Okay, there's Prometheus. The name of the elder of these brothers was Prometheus. Okay. And then you have to find out where he talks about Prometheus. Where he talks about Juniper. So you're scrolling down through here. We went to Juniper, begged him to give fire to men. All right, this is what Juniper does. But then what Prometheus does in response to that, hold on. I'm going to look. Here it goes. You reached. I'm looking with you. All right. You have to find where, let's see. Let's find where he lives. So it takes more than a few minutes, even for me. So this might take a minute, but I'm going to look back through because I haven't read it in a while. Okay. He had set his heart on helping mankind, and he did not give up. He turned away and left Jupiter and his money company forever. Okay. So Juniper said they should stay poor and ignorant, so we mighty ones might thrive and be happy. That would be what the narrator has to say about him, or one of the things the narrator has to say about him. All right, so he's talking about mankind shall have fire in spite of the tyrant. Here, Okay, this is what Prometheus says about Juniper. So you read that part right there and you say, what does he think about him? And then what does the narrator think about him? And is the things that they both say the same or different? That's how you answer number 3. All right, and number 4 says, how does the language and word choice in paragraph 2 contribute to the tone? Remember that tone is the author's voice and like the way that they say things, the opinion that they have, and you have to learn that through the way that they talk about stuff. So when you're listening to your mama and she's frustrated with you, and you can tell she's frustrated with you because of the way she says things, you can't do the same thing with tone in a text, but you can see the way things are described, the way the author says the things that they put in there, the details, and you can decide what their tone is, what their opinion, their attitude is about the subject. Okay, that's tone. All right, so how does the language and word choice contribute to the tone? All right, well, if you can't hear the tone, then the language and the word choice are how you figure out the tone. So you would click on paragraph 2 and you would go here and you would look for the descriptions. Okay, so like he was the details that they put in. So he was always thinking of the future, making things ready for what might happen tomorrow or next week or next year or may in 100 years to come. The younger was called Epimetheus, sorry, or afterthought, for he was always so busy thinking of yesterday or last year or 100 years ago that he had no care at all for what might come to pass after a while. Okay, so we've got these 2 brothers. He gives you details about both of them, okay? Um, and what language or word choice, let's see. I might not have even given you that one because that one, sorry, this might be a one that you have to explain, which I don't think I gave you that one. But if you did have to explain that one, then you would have to say that you would have to look at the details that he includes, the way that he describes them, and figure out whether he like has an opinion about them, doesn't have an opinion about them, if it's just informative, if he's biased, whatever it might be. Okay, and you talk about certain words in there or certain phrases or certain details and how that leads you to that conclusion about the tone. Okay, so I hope that this helps you answer some of the questions. And if you've already answered the questions, I hope you can email me if you feel like you did a really bad job and you want to redo it. And I'm thinking about maybe opening this one back up because the grades weren't great. So don't fret too much, but do the best that you can. Please make sure that you're reading the beginning. Sometimes you get clues here that kind of help you understand what you need to know, or sometimes you get clues about an answer for the questions over here. Remember that there's read aloud right here. If you need it read aloud to you, you can highlight stuff that you want to highlight, and you can take notes in the margins using this tool over here. So take your time on these. If you're skimming through really, really fast and then answering these really, really fast, then you're not going to do a good job on them, okay? So if you're taking the time and you're going through the steps and you're going back and finding it in the text, then your grades should improve. I hope this helps.